Environment is a place where different things are. It can be living or non-living things, such as a swampy or a rocky environment. This includes physical, chemical, and other natural forces. Since everything is part of the environment of something else, the word environment is used to talk about many things. It is also the complex of physical, chemical, and biotic factors such as climate, soil, and living things that act upon it, and the organism. It could also be an ecological or community interaction, and this is ultimately determining its form and survival. Welcome to the Patriot, a platform where we discuss issues of national importance affecting the sovereignty of our great nation called Nigeria. On this medium, we also spotlight men and women who distinguished themselves in fatherland in various fields of endeavor, as well as professionals in special areas of national need. Welcome on board. I am Peggy Shirley.
To Nigeria, my country. So goes the opening lines of the 6-line National Pledge of Nigeria. Today, not a few, whether young or old, merely recite the National Pledge as a matter of routine or tradition, with their hearts being poles apart from the very spirit, creed, and essence of the pledge. Many simply do not understand its purport or feel the import of it, while many others choose to observe the pledge in breach only. Today we have decided to walk on the footpath of the very words of the National Pledge, keeping its vision and essence in our hearts, in our souls, and in our minds.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country,
to be faithful,
loyal, and honest,
to serve Nigeria with all my strength,
to defend her unity,
and uphold her honor and glory.
So help me God. Nigeria, no doubt, will truly be the giant of Africa, developed and well rated in all indices, if her national pledge is treated with sacred obedience. It's on us, it's our duty and responsibility to make this country a better place. Let's live the pledge.
The environment is as important to the world as life itself, which is why the Honorable Minister for Environment under the President Buhari administration is now the second in command at the United Nations. No wonder. And I have a distinguished Nigerian, an environment and sustainable development expert, a true patriot, who will join me discuss the accessing the environmental prospects of Nigeria in the studios of television Nigerian. Marcus Ogu Edino, an indigene of Kogi State, holds a Master of Science in Energy and Environmental Management and a PhD in Sustainable Development, both from Glasgow, Caledonian University, Glasgow, United Kingdom. Marcus is a scholar of Nigeria's Petroleum Technology Development Fund, recognized as a high-energy, goal-driven sustainability specialist, regulatory and policy challenges in environmental and natural resource management. He has successfully managed projects and developed strategies for many ventures in Africa, Europe, and North America and around the world in area of environmental public health science, environmental disasters like wildfire and floods. Marcus has worked on several international environmental, social impact, and socio-economic assessment initiatives. He has also managed multi-million dollars oil and natural gas projects in Alberta and British Columbia, Canada, a feat that won him the management commendation twice, in 2014 and 2016. Dr. Marcus, welcome to the Patriot on Television Nigeria.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you. You're looking good.
Thank you. Excellent introduction.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So how are you experiencing the COVID?
Well, we'll get over it. It will pass away.
Hey, thank
This
you.
too will pass away.
Thank you very much. Was it that you came to Nigeria from Canada or abroad and
Well,
the COVID caught you back?
well, I've been here for about 4 months now.
Okay.
It's okay. We'll go through this together.
Thank you very much. Dr. Marcus, I wanted to go straight to the point. What is sustainable development? Tell us about environment and the aspects of environment as an expert.
Okay, thank you. So from your introduction, you spoke to a few things on environment. You look like an environmentalist to me now. Thank you. So we're going to bring you in as a student of the environment. Excellent. Sustainable development, we'll go back to Brundtland's definition in 1987. So Brundtland is a former prime minister of Norway. So she was in charge of the World Commission on Environment and Development when she came up with that report, famously called the Brundtland report. Sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. It has been an important concept over the years, popularized especially from 1987 when Brundtland's report came. Well, we're happy that the world came to realize the need for sustainable development. And talking about sustainable development, of course, an environment is the central piece on it. And just as you have said, environment is so crucial, it's so important. Environment is everything. In Nigeria context, for instance, we got a Ministry of Environment, the great ministry. However, there are other environmental phenomena. They are so big that they cannot just be in that one ministry. They are very important, and so they created a ministry for them. So thumbs up for Nigeria for recognizing that. And so out of environment, you got a very big environmental phenomena called water. Water is crucial to the environment. Nigeria recognized this and have the Ministry for Water Resources. That is an environmental phenomenon, but it's good that we have that standing on its own. And it's not only water. Agriculture, you can't talk about the environment. Agriculture is environment, but it's so big, so we have it on its own. When you look at energy, you look at solid minerals, all these are environment. And so in this regard, for Nigeria to have brought out these things and make them distinct ministries on their own is a step in the right direction. But however, even before speaking to the recognition by the Nigerian government of the importance of the environment, the United Nations also attest to the fact that the environment is important. In 2000, the United Nations came with a very important development program called the Millennium Development Goal. From 2000 to 2015, a very important goal. Its purpose is to address, at the time, poverty, environmental degradation, and multiple deprivations in developing countries. The United Nations recognized the importance of the environment by making it one of the major goals in the Millennium Development Goal. Goal number 7, ensuring environmental sustainability. At the end of the Millennium Development Goal era in 2015, over 196 world leaders met in New York at the UN General Assembly to look at the MDG. The Millennium Development Goal tried. They came up with a new program, Sustainable Development Goal, to build on the success of the MDG and also to fill the gap that the MDG could not fill. It doesn't mean the MDG didn't try. The MDG was a great program. But this successor, the SDG, is how to do better. So the United Nations recognizing the gaps in the MDG, so how important environment came to be. And so they now have 17 goals instead of 8 before. And about at least 5 of these goals are focused on the environment. 5 of the SDGs are primarily focused on the environment. That is how important the environment is. There are 17 goals, about 169 targets, about 244 indicators. 93 of these indicators are focused on the environment. Environment is everything. And that is why environmental management is crucial.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to doff my cap for you because I am just reminding myself that I'm in another class. Thank you very much for definition, the beautiful definition of sustainable development goals. I just asked you one question and you just went on and on and on to say all the things in the head that means that your brain is very super. Thank you very much, Dr. Marcos.
Anyway, thank you.
I want to also find out from you, is climate a part of the environmental issue? And if climate is part of it, how does it affect agriculture? How does climate change affect agriculture? And then what exactly, as an expert that you are sounding that you are, traveling all over the world and speaking to people to talk about environment, what exactly can be done about climate change with respect to agriculture?
Thank you. So, climate change is crucial. Climate change is important. Climate change affects agriculture. And so before going into that, I'll just take you back to food security. Climate change affects agriculture in terms of food security, most importantly. And food security speaks to the availability of food, accessibility, both physical and economic access to food, and not just food, sufficient quantity of food in the right quality at all times to enable people live their normal lives. This definition came in 1996 at the World Food Summit, and it has remained food security. Climate change have come to affect this. It's affecting both the access to food, the availability of food in different ways. The changing weather pattern, rainfall that varies in different ways now, is beginning to affect the quantity of food that is produced, availability of food across different regions of the world. Foods are no longer, crops are not maturing at the right time, they need to. Hunger and famine. The Sustainable Development Goal recognizes this by making one of its goals to focus primarily on hunger. And so climate change impact on agriculture, if not managed, is going to push hunger up and get everyone hungry. But with things that are in place that will likely not happen, but if nothing is done, it's going to happen.
So what exactly can we say that are the causes of this climate change? Because now, actually food, rains, let's begin with the rains.
Yes.
Rains don't come down, when they should. And we've also discovered that when the rain is not actually, when we're growing up as kids, when the rains are supposed to stop, the rain is still falling.
Okay.
I remember that in December it rained one year. Even in January it rained.
Yes. Okay.
So what are the causes?
Okay,
is it that God is not happy with what is going on in the world today, or what exactly?
Anyway, I don't want to go into the last piece of whether God is not happy or not. The climate is changing. And so the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, a very important body up there, made it very clear several years ago that human activities or what we call anthropogenic activities, are majorly driving the change in climate. But so that I don't digress from your original question about what has been done about this to address the impact of climate change on agriculture. A very important thing that's happening right now is climate smart agriculture. And the whole essence of climate smart agriculture is to live up to the climate change challenge, to boost food production despite climate change, to address food security despite the challenge posed by climate change. And this climate smart agriculture has got different approaches or different methodologies that are being used across different countries of the world. The good news is that in Nigeria, is being practiced in certain parts of the country already. I know Adamawa State is currently doing this, and some of these methodologies include things that our parents were doing before now, however, more improvement on it. For instance, conservation, talking about cover crop planting, improve seedlings, improve irrigation, indigenous knowledge, the way things were done in many years ago. So the climate smart agriculture, as well as the use of technology to ensure that climate change don't get everybody hungry, the impact on agriculture. The central thing is farmers are encouraged by all means to key into this climate smart agriculture. It's going to help and boost food production. But farmers alone cannot do that. The relevant government agencies, awareness campaign in this area. Furthermore, the need for ongoing research to address the impact of climate change on food security, on agriculture as a whole.
The end point of the effect of climate change is on agriculture. And it's going to definitely render all human beings who need this food to go hungry. That's the end point.
We hope we don't get there.
Yeah, we hope we don't get there, but that's exactly the end point of if this climate change does not stop. I'm still wondering, is it that the population is becoming too much, that it is affecting the way, the natural things that used to happen, or is it a spiritual thing? Because I'm trying to ask you, from the little that you know, of course, you know that the research will continue. It definitely has to be ongoing. But I want to find out. Tell me something tangible that our listeners and our viewers who are following you will be able to hold on to in one sentence to explain what in your own understanding. I didn't study sustainable goals or environment. Okay. I'm a journalist.
Yes.
And my duty is to ask questions. And that's what I'm asking you. What can you really try to convince us can be the cause? Otherwise, we have just reverted to the course that God, who sits there, who controls everything, should be not, he's not happy about the life that we're living. And so he decided that, no, I'm going to deal with you also.
Okay, thank you. Across the world, some people do not even believe in the existence of anything called climate change. Well, as someone who studied environment, I'm not going to tour into that part, and I don't want to go into that argument about it. However, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that I said consists of several seasoned experts. Evidence-based came up to this conclusion. Anthropogenic factor. Human factor is the driving and the major cause of climate change. And that is why they are speaking to a change of attitude across the globe. Governments are coming up with different programs and policies to address this, and this is happening. We're not there yet, but I'm positive that someday we'll get there. The worst is if nothing is done at all. Things have been done, and it's just that the change keeps going on. So at this point,
yes,
we're going to stay positive.
Thank you
that things will change for good.
I think the way you are sounding looks like we must actually employ your services as a consultant, to the Nigerian government, so that you can actually put in ground, this wealth of knowledge that you have come all the way. because you're blowing my mind right now.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I want us
Thanks
to
for
go
the
into,
compliments.
yes, thank you. We are going to another very important, I want to find out from you. Desertification. I want to find out from you. You have moved away from climate change and you have given us the aspects of environment and sustainable development goals. So I want us to go to desertification. Now, desertification is also a very important aspect of environment. Even though I'm not an environment student, I think I should know that. And it's one of the major threats in the north, the northern part of this country. And one of the major causes of immigration, that people are migrating away from the north, moving down to the sub-Saharan regions, and then getting around to the savannah, and then going down to the south, away from the middle part of the country. What, in your own words, and as an expert, because in no ways you can have 5 PhDs and 7 masters and then you'll be sitting down here without nothing. I know that you have something to say, definitely. So what are the major, how can this be addressed?
So talking about desertification, well, I have been a university lecturer. I've lectured across universities in Britain and in North America. And so the way I teach and inspire my students, I don't like to believe that they already know it. So, so I'll just go back to try to get into desertification.
That's all right.
So to begin first from forests. About 1.6 billion people on earth depend on forest for their livelihood. That's a massive number of people. They depend on forest resources to survive. However, in the last 25 years, 125 million hectares of land, the size of South Africa, has been cleared. Those forests have gone. By 2050, about 229 million hectares of land, about the size of India, would have gone from the forest. So bringing it back. Desertification is caused by 2 major things. Variability in the climate. We're going back to climate again. And human activities. So talking about climate, drought has caused major problem. So in the absence of rain, trees that depend on rain cannot survive. And so they dry up. And gradually that place turns to desert. While we got the climate challenge on its own as the major driver of desertification, there is also the human factor. Anthropogenic activities. Human factor especially driving deforestation. Human factor through illegal logging. The World Bank, in a 2009 report, 2019 rather, just last year, indicated that developing countries are losing between $7 to $12 billion annually as a result of illegal logging in developing countries, including Nigeria. And all these are creating deserts. They're leading to desertification. And that explains why a particular state in Nigeria is taking a very important initiative, the Niger State government in north-central Nigeria. A few weeks ago, the Niger State government established a task force to address illegal logging and illegal charcoal production. And so, they call it the crack team to address this. And that state is also aggressively going about afforestation. I strongly encourage others to look at what they're doing because they recognize the importance of forest. And as the north is turning to desert, As grasses are beginning to disappear, cattle need to be fed. They need to be fed, rather. Needs to be fed. And so the herders are finding their way down to where they can get grasses. I don't want to go into the conflict because that's another story that will keep us the whole day here. So in the face of desertification, we have options. One of them is that we are aware of this climate change. It's to brace up for adaptation. Because once you know the problem, then solution is halfway. You're halfway there. It's when you don't know the problem that is big. With what desertification is causing, aggressive afforestation program across the entire country is crucial and it needs to happen as soon as possible. Aggressive afforestation, tapping into the power of technology, deliberate irrigation programs, and it is not only that. Deliberate irrigation program. It is not only that. Some people depend on forest products. Women cooking in our villages, that depends on fuel wood, and so we have to create alternative for them so they don't go there to get it.
No. We're going to take a very short break.
Okay.
We're going to take a very short break,
All right.
because I don't have to be carried away by the way you're just dissecting these issues and talking. I may just forget myself here,
Okay.
but I appreciate you so far. We're going to take a very short break,
Okay, thank
and
you.
then we return. You're going to deal with this desertification properly,
All right, thank
and
you.
other very important aspects of our discussion.
It's okay.
And because petroleum is becoming obsolete, I don't know. You're going to tell us also a lot more about the prospects that we can find if we can invest in environment. Dr. Marcus, please, let's take a short break.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we will take a very short break, and when we return, Dr. Marcus will blow hot on environment. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying tuned. This is the Patriot on television, Nigeria. Dr. Marcus Edino.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here in the studios of one of the most leading media platforms there in Nigeria, television Nigeria. And
Pleasure.
this is the best place where you have to discuss what is in your head. And I know that whatever you know finds expression through the mouth. Doctor, thank you very much for coming.
Welcome.
We were talking about desertification.
Yes.
So can you just finish up on that, please?
So talking about desertification, as we embark on aggressive afforestation program, and as we have to discourage illegal logging, and also to ensure people don't start going for fuel wood, using the same trees we have planted, because these trees can equally be used for generate employment opportunities, especially if things are done properly, systematically. So we have to equally begin to think of alternative for that woman, for my mother in the village.
Okay.
This could be in the area of teaching them how to use improved stove, and by using improved stove, you don't need that many wood for cooking. There are different ways. Also creating an alternative source of livelihoods so that people will not all be dependent on forestry resources. It will not happen in one day, but we'll get there.
But I'm also aware that taking away the trees will also not purify the atmosphere, because photosynthesis takes place in the sun, when the sun is. And so oxygen is produced, and then oxygen purifies the atmosphere, giving rise to, the ozone depletion, handling, the ozone layer depletion. That's what you say.
Yes.
Yes. Is it true that that it is also affecting the global warming that they talk about? Once there are no grasses, there are no plants. Agriculture encourages plantation, and agriculture talks about plants and animals, planting and rearing.
Yes.
So desertification, can you just tell us a few effects?
So forests and trees generally, they absorb carbon, and especially through the process of photosynthesis. So removing them, because they serve as carbon sink, so removing those things is not helpful.
Carbon sink.
However,
Carbon
so
sink.
yes,
Carbon sink.
however, so removing those things is not helpful. But however, talking about the woman at home, as I was saying, she don't need to go hungry, because kerosene is not readily available for some persons. I know some people have access to it, but everywhere, let's face facts, we'll get there. Some people don't have readily available, it's not readily available to some persons, or some cannot really afford it.
Yes.
And so that's why we cannot rule out the fuel wood completely. And not only that, so the planting of wood lots focus usually around the homes, just for fuel wood. At times discourage people from going to the forest to go cut that. But the big one are those commercial loggers who go in to get this in and send it all over the world. And sell it at the ones that the World Bank is talking about, $7 to $9 billion being wasted annually.
How is it wasted?
Well, it's illegal. So the money is not coming to the coffers, to the government.
So once it's not coming to the government, it's wasted already.
Oh, if somebody takes 5, what is meant for one person?
That's all right, thank you. Yeah, all right. So now I have seen a lot of trucks around,
Yes.
consuming charcoal. I mean, I don't understand the rationale behind some of this. That agrees with what you have just said right here. Wasting trees just to reduce them from one point to charcoal.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't mean that the charcoal, provides the fire better than just the flames.
Well, yes, because some persons will not necessarily, it's easier and more portable.
And dirty.
Well,
Do you use it in
they're clean? No.
Where you come from in Canada and the United States, they use charcoal to cook?
Well, at the moment, in the house, I use electricity or gas in the house.
In the house.
So that's another nice thing.
That's another
time.
I think we are moving away from this.
Yes.
We have to sustain this development goal.
Exactly.
Because the poverty is too much in this place. All right? I want us to go to flood. What is the opinion about flood? Your own opinion about flood? Flood disaster. That goes to a very important aspect of environment. I think I heard about you dealing with disaster management and disaster control and stuff like that. Here in Nigeria, when we have flood, and then we have those kind of disasters, they go and give you relief material, relief. I don't know to what extent of what your opinion is about disaster control, particularly when it comes to flood.
Okay.
In Nigeria. Now, disaster and disaster generally, talk about disaster.
Okay.
Downsize it to the point where the ordinary man on the street can understand what the government can do right now within the era of this climate change, flood, disaster. Dr. Bacchus.
All right, thank you. You touched on a very important topic that I love. So, talking about disaster, the United Nations declared, and that's the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, that 1.5 billion people are affected globally by disaster. That is a big number. 1.5 billion people are affected. And there are no signs that this number is going down. There are no signs. Now, there is always a tendency to want to think that when we say 1.5 people are affected by disaster globally, is somewhere else, maybe somewhere in the developed world or somewhere in other parts of Africa or somewhere on the Asian continent. That is far from the truth. Nigeria is also included in this number, and I'm going to be speaking to that shortly. But before then, to go back again to the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goal is so important, that is why you see me referring to it every now and then.
Yeah.
The United Nations also recognize that something needs to be done about disaster. And that is why of those 17 goals and the various targets and indicators they have, there are 25 targets that are focused primarily on disaster risk reduction. And these 25 targets cut across 10 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. That is how important issues about disaster is. Let's not take things about disaster for granted. And I'm happy that Nigeria is not taking it for granted, and I'll get to that shortly. So, to remove our mind from thinking that disaster is a thing about one country in Asia or one country in the Western, in North America or Europe or one other part of sub-Saharan Africa. So let's come home. In 2012, there was a major flood in this country that affected 12 states in Nigeria. That flood, the estimated damage from that flood is about $17 billion from the flood of 2012. It also led to displacement of about 10 million people from those states affected. Well, we thought it was over. About 5-6 years later, the flood returned, causing a national emergency to be declared in those states where the flood happened. So what this means is, this flood is real. Nigeria is not immune from disaster. One of the greatest lies anyone can tell oneself is that Nigeria is immune from disaster. No. I do know that as a boy growing up in the hinterlands of my community, who got rainmakers, they got power to stop rain. I don't know how they were able to do it, to stop rain those days, or were told they could stop rain. I do not see them stopping this one. I do not see them stopping this one. And so talking about disaster management, the way it's going in Nigeria, I love this country. Nigeria has got a National Emergency Management Agency, and in all fairness, they're doing a good job. Now, but to address flood effectively and all forms of disaster, from flood to wildfire, just name it, all forms of disaster, there is no one single agency that can effectively tackle it. As a matter of fact, the United Nations declared just last year that the human race is facing a kind of threat they have never faced before since the history of human existence. So all hands must be on deck. So what this means is, to address flood and all forms of disaster in this country, there's a need for what we call the 4 C's in emergency management: collaboration, coordination, cooperation, and communication. This is very important because only the National Emergency Management Agency cannot fix the problem. They can provide the direction. However, they need help. They need all other agencies to join them. And that is why I got this document. I don't know if it's going to show it. The Disaster Risk Management Implication of 2020 Seasonal Rainfall Prediction. And so the Nigerian Meteorological Agency produces this seasonal rainfall prediction every year. And also the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, they also produce the annual flood outlook. Now, these two documents are very crucial to managing flood. However, these documents themselves, by themselves, cannot do anything. We have to get it to work. So the National Emergency Management Agency or the Nigerian Meteorological Agency produces and get this out to stakeholders. State governments have to get people to act. Communities have to act. The National Emergency Management Agency cannot be everywhere. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, where the National Emergency Management Agency is hosted, cannot be everywhere. And that is why every Nigeria have got responsibility to help us overcome the challenge of flood. It is one thing to take the horse to the river. NEMA can take the horse to the river, but cannot force the horse to drink water. So all Nigerians, all hands must be on deck. When I saw this report, I knew that we're doing something fantastic here.
Which means flood is coming again.
Flood is going to come now.
Okay, so we're running out of time, so we just be brief. Yes, because this is becoming too much.
Now, the point
is a problem.
There's going to be another disaster. It's just a matter of when and where. So living and say there's not going to be another disaster is an illusion. There's going to be another disaster. It's a matter of when and where. And that is why when reports of this nature comes, state governments and the various stakeholders, including the men and women in their homes, families, farmers, everyone needs to take it serious. That is the only way we can overcome this challenge.
All right, okay, thank you. We're going to bring you here again to talk about that disaster. It looks like you're very, very proficient in that area. Please, Dr. Marcos, please. We just want to round up now. Now, how can our population accept the reality of global warming? I want you to please, very briefly, discuss on global warming. Yeah, because if we are all the population, if we are the population that the flood and the disaster and everything is going to affect. Global warming, desertification, all these things, the population, how can our people accept the reality of these problems? Briefly, and then we're going to take on the last one, the benefit of environmental management.
Okay, thank you. So the last piece that I would have said in your last question would have make a very important contribution to answering this. Now, talking about when I spoke to the 4 C's of disaster management, collaboration, cooperation, coordination, and communication. An important area that the relevant agencies, NEMA and other agencies in Nigeria will be looking at is creating NGO council, non-governmental organization council, because NEMA cannot do everything. NEMA cannot do everything. Some states run to NEMA the moment there's disaster looking for relief material. NEMA don't have all the answers they can do. There are over 200 million people in this country. NEMA alone can solve the problem. So when we have the NGO councils, when we have the NGO council, some NGO, Red Cross can do this. Another NGO say they can. That is the only way they can support NEMA. So talking about
the benefits of environmental management, and which is going to be your final word.
And so the benefits of environmental management.
Yes. If NEMA cannot save Nigeria in this area and flood is coming, it will affect more states. So how can we...
Let me correct that. NEMA can save Nigeria if we work with them. NEMA is doing a fantastic job.
We need NGOs.
The National Emergency Management Agency is doing a fantastic job, but we need to help them. Collaboration, cooperation, coordination, communication. We should not leave them alone. All hands must be on deck to support them.
So the benefits.
And so the benefit is health. If the environment is well managed, you will be healthy. That's important. If our environment is sound, if the environment is well taken care of, which is what the National Environmental Standard and Regulation Agency is doing a fantastic job ensuring enforcement of environmental standards across the country. Because what they're looking to do is to promote environmental management. Environmental management will keep everybody safe. Health and safety of all Nigerians.
And coronavirus.
Money. It also transforms to money. Employment opportunities.
Dr. Marcos, I'm going to bring you here again, please. I'm going to bring you again here. Please, we are running out of time, and so we'll bring you here again so that you can expound more on this very important aspect of the benefits of environmental management.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. We've been talking to Dr. Marcos Edino, who has lectured and inspired and mentored students in British and Northern America University. Specifically, he has taught at Glasgow, Caledonian University, United Kingdom, Colgate University at the New York, United States of America, and the University of Alberta, Canada, in courses such as resource management and environmental policy, population geography, environmental security, environmental policy and legislation, corporate sustainability. He's an expert in corporate sustainability and corporate sustainability goals, just like he has expounded here. He is a reviewer, well published, and has sat on several panels. In 2008, Dr. Edino won the Valpak Prize for the best graduating student in the MSc Energy and Environmental Management class. And in 2010, he was named one of the best out of the 30 most outstanding black students in Britain by Barclays Wealth and Powerful Media Incorporation, both in London, UK. In 2011, he was nominated for a presidential award by the PTDF. In 2012, Dr. Edino received a Teaching Excellence Award in the category of effective teaching that inspires and motivates learning all the way at Glasgow, Kelvin University of the UK. In 2012, the Sustainability Scholar Award was also given to him from Common Ground Research Network, University of Illinois, United States, and a research fellow in environmental security at Colgate University, New York, from 2013 to 2014. Marcus believes in the Nigerian dream. The fun fact about Marcus is that he loves soccer, although he is yet to score a penalty kick in his life. He looks forward to attending the World Cup final someday, but to say Marcus enjoys road trips and does not mind escaping into the wilderness and getting lost in the beauty of nature. This is the much we have for you on this episode of The Patriot. You can sponsor programs on The Patriot on Television Nigerian. Join us again for another interesting engagement with the patriotic Nigerian. Until then, be patriotic. I am Peggy Shandy, and many thanks for watching.
Thank you.